Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Space can be a harsh and unforgiving place, and today we're going to talk about death in the persistent universe. What happens when your character dies? Character creation is going to allow you quite a bit of customization, from accent, ethnicity, hairstyle, and lots of visual customizations too. Chris has already said it's unlikely that you'll be able to drastically change the height or shape of your character, as that would make the hitboxes different between players and give some people advantages, especially if you made a small, thin character. But you've made your character, you've given it a name, this is your avatar in the Star Citizen universe. In Arena Commander and Star Marine, there are respawns. You are in a virtual environment. You're in-gameception, you're in a game within the game, but you can fly around, crash, die without any form of downside other than the time it takes to respawn, or maybe causing your team to lose that match. You are basically playing Counter-Strike or a game within the Star Citizen universe. The persistent universe is another matter. Your character is vulnerable here, fragile. You don't need to be terrified of everything, but you do need to be careful ramming that asteroid. That could be the last thing that your character ever does. Perma-Death exists in the Star Citizen world, but it's more of a long-term risk than a bang, you're dead one. So let's talk about death, respawning, and permadeath. So you die if you fail to eject before your ship explodes, you get shot in your exposed head, or bleed out from your wounds on the floor. You probably died. You probably died if one of those things happened, but have no fear. We live in the future, and hospitals and medicine have advanced somewhat, enabling us an in-law reason for why players are allowed to come back even if they've been ejected into space. If you die, in most cases, you will respawn or spawn on a hospital, planet or station where your body was recovered to, basically taken to after you died. This wouldn't have actually physically happened, it's just assumed to have happened. You may have a bionic arm now, or metal plates in your head, or a new heart. These are all likely to be aesthetic changes and scars to your character, so you can see how many wars and battles you've come that have given you close calls. You've had a close call, but you're still alive. But this might not always be the case. Whatever happens, it's likely that you've lost all your equipment you were carrying, your ship, and hopefully you had them insured, in which case a replacement or some money will be waiting for you. But it is likely that anything that wasn't insured or any cargo that your ship was carrying has been lost or stolen, but it could be recoverable by your friends. In the current imaginings, you'll have a certain amount of lives, or some form of I can only come back after so many wounds and damage before my body starts to actually fully give out. There's only so many bodily replacements you can get before you'll just die. It's not going to be some static life counter though. It could be a random fuzzy number, some people lucking out surviving 10 close calls, while others are dead at 6, say. We just don't really know yet, but death is a thing. Though it has been suggested that you can die at least half a dozen times and come back before you're dead. But definitely the amount that you've died before and the circumstances of your current death or current tragedy that's befallen your character will have an effect on if you're dead. There will be various ways you can avoid dying and permadeath. If a medic gets to you, they can stabilise you if you're bleeding out on the floor, for example, or if someone recovers your body very quickly, it's unlikely to use one of your lives. Items and equipment may allow more character durability, longer health, longer life. This could be medical in nature like implants or just better healthcare, as well as various systems on your ship and spacesuit can be upgraded to allow you more likely to be recovered. There will be opportunities to gain some lives or do a reset for the amount of times you've died. This could be some in-game mission or involve paying lots of money to a specialist, doing stem cell research, lots of random stuff. Escape pods and ejecting are quite literally lifesavers. If you use them successfully, you will not have lost a life, as long as your pod doesn't get blasted too. If you eject though, you are vulnerable in space, but if you're in like a pilot seat or something, if you're just in an ejection sheet, you're going to be very, very hard to detect. If you don't want to be seen, that is. Allies can pull you in and rescue you. Enemies might try and find and kill you, or capture you. If there are no nearby enemies, you'll be able to activate a distress beacon, which will basically allow you to respawn at an appropriate station or planet, thus not using one of your lives. If you're captured and delivered for bounty or sold into slavery, costs and debts might be incurred, Also, your character might have to pay off like slavers, guards, or the authorities. You may lose a life, you may not. There are also other incentives for players to save other players in space. If you rescue another player and survive the battle, you will get a rescue payment from the rescue pilot's ship insurance company once you land on the next planet. Space rescue and recovery is standard on all space insurance policies. And as we mentioned previously, some more extreme pilots might try and kill your ejection pod as you fly helpless in space. Obviously they have to find you first though, and there will be large penalties to characters murdering others in the form of government bounties placed on their heads, and police in civilized systems will try and pursue them, as well as allowing lethal force on that person's pod that's committed murder. There will be a lot of balance to this mechanic to stop griefers, but rest assured there'll be harsh penalties for players that do it. So when you've lost one of your lives, you'll revive in a hospital. You will have lost whatever your character was carrying, the ship you're on, and the cargo. Your insurance, if you had any, will pay out for replacements, or they'll just drop you actual physical replacements. Though the process of claiming these items can take time. Some ships will need to be built to order, for example. Some ships and items will have LTI, or lifetime insurance. The only real advantage of this over paying a small amount of UEC for actual insurance is the luxury of not having to remember to purchase or renew it. You'll maybe be attending the funeral of the fallen character through the eyes of your new character, your beneficiary. If your old character had done something noteworthy, like an in-game achievement of some sorts, his headstone might read, "Here lies Chris, discoverer of Orion 2 jump point," that sort of stuff. This new character will inherit all of your UEC and assets, but you may lose a small amount of reputation that you've built up with NPCs and factions. You may have to pay a percentage death tax or funeral charges. If your character was a criminal or a debtor, you might have other fees to pay as well. If your previous character was a criminal or a pirate, then the new one will also be aligned in some way with that of pirates or criminals, but not so much. They'll definitely still be on the UEE watch list though. No slate will be wiped fully clean, but if you want to change your allegiances and the way you do stuff, this would be the start of doing that. This matches life, where the son of a criminal has had to deal with the bias of people thinking he's going to be like his father, or a son of a cop that is assumed to be on the side of law and order. But you'll also lose any bounties that were placed on your character's head, so at least there's that. You can play and complete Squadron 42. This will help you gain the required survival skills, but also gains you some benefits to your PU account, your Persistent Universe account. You won't have to play Squadron 42 again if you die though. Everything that you've earned from Squadron 42, like your citizenship, credits, starter ship, and the like, will all go to your beneficiary, all go to your new character. So you can play Squadron 42 again with the new character if you wish, but you don't have to. It's not required. So death in the verse is annoying, but it's not catastrophic. The reasons for the permadeath system is it's important for players to feel alive and fear death to some extent. Everyone's vulnerable, everyone can be a great hero, or everyone can be a very, very evil pirate. And those reputations will be listed and kind of communicated in the verse. It must be mentioned that like taking a grenade to the face or some other activities will carry a greater or higher risk of permadeath, but like defending a ship on shipboardings if someone's boarded you may give you survival bonuses even if you are killed. Major NPCs in the universe as well will be unique and they can be killed. They will only be able to be killed once, and then this will be listed in the game history and lore. This world, where players can die, NPCs and bosses have unique names, will help enrich the verse and add to its character. When you disconnect, if you don't have any living quarters or bed on your ship, the server will try and autopilot you to safety, so this will be like a planet or station that you last visited. But if there are enemies nearby, it will need to get far enough away from them before it attempts to autopilot, so that you are vulnerable then if you've just logged off or you've been disconnected or you've rage quit. If you do have a living quarters, then you'll just log off and effectively disappear until you log back on. Again, assuming that there's no hostiles nearby. If there are hostiles nearby, it will attempt to get away from the hostiles before logging off. Well, before the system logs you off. All ships will be abandonable in some way, whether that's jumping out the airlock, or an ejection seat, or a life pod. So there's not going to be situations where you go, well, I can't escape my ship. Well, I suppose there might be, but they'll be physics-based. There'll be, I don't know, like girders in the way of your cockpit and not enabling you to get past. There won't be a way to opt out of the death system in the PU, though you can play Arena Commander or Star Marine in the Persistent universe to be safe. They are effectively a game within the game. And remember that in Star Marine and Arena Commander there are no penalties for death. So Star Marine and Arena Commander, no penalties for death. And also, you're not actually going to truly experience death until the game goes live. So in the baby PU, in all the alpha testing phases, if you die, that's not really going to affect your account. Anyway, guys, I hope that gives you a little bit of an in-depth look at the way that the death mechanic and permadeath will probably work in the full game. It's all based on a variety of things that Chris Roberts and the devs team have said anyway. So, with that in mind, thanks very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the verse.